Persona 3 is mental for doing this just to use their power. Meanwhile, Chie here is just kicking her way to summon her persona. If you were given the power to summon your persona, which method do you want to use? Since the choices are kinda scary. Do the evokers hurt them when they summon their persona? Yes, that's why they were so hesitant to use it. Then surely Persona 4 got it the easiest since they are only breaking the tarot cards, right? Well, not exactly. While the evokers from Persona 3 is the most painful looking method to use a persona, this doesn't mean that the other summoning mechanics aren't agonizing. In fact, each game has a different price they had to pay in order to use their persona. Hence, why calling forth the power within is not an easy task. And I love how each game has a different symbolism in using personas, because even the power system stays true to the theme. This is the reason why summoning a persona is so agonizing. But before that though, if you think summoning a persona is cool even though it hurts, then like this video and join Ataka Define for more Persona content.
Child's play.
What is your favorite way to summon personas? And why is it the evoker? Is it because of how cool it looks? Is it because of how edgy it feels? These are all good reasons, and in my case, evokers are the best way to summon a persona because of how it perfectly fits the theme of Persona 3. Booting up the game and the first cutscene we see is Yukari pointing it towards her head. This sets the whole mood for P3. It will make you question whether that girl is alright or if it has something to do with a sudden mortifying change in the environment after leaving the train station. It's also quite literally a cheeky and genius way of using Chekhov's gun, a narrative principle where an element introduced into a story first seems unimportant but will later take on a greater significance, as the evoker is revealed as the method of summoning personas in the game. And I do love the fact that while other characters are hesitant to pull the trigger, our emo protagonist on the other hand is seen smiling for the first time since 10 years after using it. It does look amusing, but at the same time, it is quite tragic, as the evoker is supposed to trigger a traumatizing sensation of death. Hence why Yukari is nervous when she's about to summon her persona, while Makoto does it with ease, not just because he is already dead inside, but because he is not afraid to die, which speaks volumes as to the type of character he is. Knowing that the sensation of death made him smile, as he feels freedom from it and a tinge of reunion. This is why evokers are so beloved in the fandom, even though it is the most agonizing way to summon a persona. While yes, it is not physically painful to use an evoker, but the feeling of death that is bestowed upon the user involves a ton of psychological damage. Here's how the evoker works in P3 in summoning personas and why it is so painful to use. The reason why it is shaped like that and involves a character to use it on themselves is to put them in their most vulnerable state to face death. This extreme psychological shock breaks down their mental barriers that prevents their true selves from emerging. The idea is that the intense experience of metaphorical death helps bring out the persona, hence why it is mentally taxing to use evokers. The psychological impact is intense. Think of the sensations you feel like in a dream where you're about to fall off a building. The sudden jitter you do is your trigger response to fight from it and save yourself. The evokers on the other hand won't let you resist. Instead, it will make you feel the whole impact. That's why we see this intense recoil despite the evokers not really causing physical pain. Moreover, the psychological tax that evokers bring is better represented in the gameplay mechanics, as each persona's skills consume either HP or SP. Thus, whenever Akihiko uses Zio, the evoker has to cause a mental strain, reducing his SP in order to summon Polyjuices. The mental toll also affects them physically as their body grows tired from repeated use, proven as to how Junpei and Yukari felt tired after exploring Tartarus. And thinking about it now, C's members has got to have the most irritating neck pains. While evokers look the most agonizing way to summon a persona, it doesn't mean that other methods aren't painful, such as in Persona 5 where the Phantom Thieves upon awakening to their true selves has to rip off their mask in the most gruesome way. And to this day, Persona 5 still has the best awakening scenes due to the fact that you can see the amount of physical and mental toll they have to exert. The awakening hurts because it represents the character breaking free from repression and embracing their true rebellious nature. The struggle is further seen as to how they move their body as they write in pain. But how does this hurt them exactly? Psychologically speaking, it takes a huge mental toll whenever we need to break away from social norms, such as the various cultural behaviors that binds us to act in certain ways, while in truth, we are really against such crude ideals. Like if your friends are all into lunchly while you know deep inside that the thing can reduce a person's lifespan per 20 years, but you are afraid to tell them that because they might hate you for it, so you do it in a video. On a more serious note, an example is standing up for what you think is right while society says otherwise, such as when Ren stood up to protect that lady from Shido, while the rest of the adults told him that he should not get involved in other people's businesses. Or the painful fact that Yusuke now has to accept his master's true intention with art. The stress of trying to prove yourself worthy to everyone, and now you decide to no longer please them, like how Makoto rid herself of that burden. This is the reason why I find Awakening in Persona 5 so beautiful, as it portrays how difficult it is to actually stop conforming to society and bring out the individual self. But how about after their awakening? Does it still hurt the Phantom Thieves whenever they take off their mask? While the pain is significantly reduced from their awakening sins, using their persona still takes a mental toll on them, as each time they take off their mask, they are exposing their true selves and are taking the psychological strain from social repression. Remember that they are using their powers inside the metaverse, which represents the collective unconscious of the masses, and the palaces from each ruler and its supporters sees the Phantom Thieves as the enemy, opposing their norm. So each time they take off their mask, they have to fight against social control and its cultural binding ideologies. Thus, gameplay-wise, each persona skill still consumes HP and SP because of this mental strain. Then what about breaking the tarot cards in Persona 4? Surely that is not painful. While Persona 4's summoning method is by far the safest among the three and can be on the same level as P1 and P2 where they have to wave their hands, the breaking of the tarot cards to summon a persona is still agonizing for the members of the investigation team. At the surface, it can be seen as a symbolic act, saying that the character is now breaking away towards their true selves. However, there is still a mental toll whenever they do that. And no, it doesn't hurt them like breaking a glass with your bare hands, even though this is the sound effect we hear whenever Chie kicks her tarot card. But that sound actually represents the shattering of their mental barriers. The tarot cards represents the character's inner struggle that they have kept hidden, such as Chie's repressed feelings that she has for Yukiko, and those emotions are painful to admit. Because Chie doesn't want to think of herself as being jealous and resentful towards Yukiko, or Yosuke's shadow taunting him that the investigation team is just a lame excuse for Yosuke to free himself of boredom instead of a moral act to find the true culprit. This is hurtful for Yosuke as he doesn't want to see that he's only using Saki's death as an excuse to have some fun. Breaking their tarot cards are mentally taxing because they have to look at those repressed feelings and accept them for what they are. Every time we hear that shattering sound, they are also accepting their true selves with newfound intentions. Hence why we still see their personas consuming their HP and SP because it is mentally tiring to look at the ugliest side of yourself, all the while doing a flip to summon a persona. Yosuke is so extra, which got me thinking as to how Persona 6 will tackle this. I made a video about that theorized that Persona 6 will use a mirror to summon their persona. And I do love how in Metaphor, they awaken their archetypes by literally pulling their hearts out, which is one of the reasons why Metaphor is such a massive success. If you're curious why, then check these videos out. Join Otaka Defined for more Persona content. This is Mav, and stay awesome my dudes.